Good evening, everybody, and happy Valentine's Day. Marcus C. Williams here. Let's talk news. All right. So, we've got so much going on. It's been a couple of days since we've done a show. Now, with everything going on in the world today, I know you think everything's completely gone off the rails. Not quite. But, we're definitely kind of getting there. So, we've got so much stuff going on. I'd really like to talk about first all of the distractions that are going on in the news, right? Over the weekend, we had the Super Bowl, one of the greatest distractions our nation has ever come up with. You know, it was awesome if your team won. If you didn't win, it was less awesome. But what really was a big thing was the whole halftime performance. And it seems that each year, the halftime performances keep getting more and more, how may we say, demonic, right? And satanic. And just honestly, all around, just not positive as far as what they're showing during these halftime shows. It's crazy. Rihanna had her pentagram belt on, wearing all red clad, leather, skin tight nonsense. Okay. And we just saw Sam Smith dressed similarly with his devil horns included, okay, the other day at the Grammys. This is what our, I guess you would say, what would you call them? Artists are doing these days, encouraging satanic worship and demonic things, And you don't have to be a Christian to see that that's satanic and demonic. It's pretty bad. It's pretty blatant and out in your face, right? Like the Lady Gaga thing with her people throwing up all over her, and that's like from some bands, I guess, depending on who you listen to, stuff like that might be expected. But Lady Gaga is a completely different situation. So this just shows you how they keep pushing this envelope, pushing this envelope, pushing this envelope. It's kind of very concerning. And if you're not concerned, you should get concerned fast. And I'll give you plenty of reasons this evening why you should be concerned, but don't give up hope. Okay. So we've seen multiple distractions outside of just the performance at the Grammys and outside of the performance at the Super Bowl. We've got all of these amazing things coming into the United States aerospace, right? Well, airspace, excuse me. So we've got all types of different objects flying in the skies, being seen even as far as Western New York here. There was something in the news earlier that somebody saw some strange stuff. They took some pictures. It looked really weird. But it's not just that. The military has come forward thus far and said since last week, since the balloon incident, there have been 4 other objects as of today, right? Because we were at 3, including the original one, 4, but now we've got another one, so we're at about 5. Okay? All of them weren't shaped the same either. Like, we have the one that is definitely a balloon, and the other one they said was shaped like an octagon. It's interesting. Not the same size as the balloon either. China says they don't know anything about anything else except the actual balloon. And it's amazing that all of these other things happen at the same time that you have the Epstein client list coming out. And at the same time, we have the largest ecological disaster in pretty much the history of our nation happening in Ohio. But the incident in Ohio wasn't alone. It seems to have gotten friends. Now we've got an ecological disaster outside of Tucson, outside of South Carolina, outside of Houston. Like, it's getting really, really bad. And people just aren't talking about it anywhere in the news. I mean, you might get lucky and you might catch something on some secondary channel. Maybe you'll catch something somewhere. But on the mainstream media, nothing about all of these things. So let's talk about these balloons real quick. So firstly, we all know about the balloon that flew across the country that Biden didn't do anything about, and then shot down after it completed crossing the whole country. It's weird, right? Then after that, we had the but we had the object, unidentified object that flew into Canada, which we launched Raptors from the F-22 fighter jets. Technically, I don't think those are fighter jets. They're called something else, whatever. But they've got fighter jet capabilities. Anyway, they're awesome. They're one of my favorite planes. But anyway, they shot it down, and this was the one that looked like an octagon, allegedly, over there. But that's not the only thing that happened, right? Like at the same time the first balloon came over, the day after that, right before the octagon, flying octagon thing that got shot, we saw massive outage, blackouts in servers in San Francisco, Seattle, and in Chicago. Now these are three major networking nodes which transfer a lot of the internet data across the nation. And it seemed that various websites, including Bing, YouTube, Google, other Google services, and Twitter, were all affected, with Twitter being one of the most largely impacted. So this was very interesting. At the same time, just had the balloon the other day. Then now we have all types of other flying objects later in that evening. It's very interesting. Now, while all this is going on, all of a sudden, bing, bang, boom, we've got a train derailment in Ohio in a place called East Palestine, of all places, right? East Palestine. If that's not humorous, I don't know what is. It's not humorous, but it's sad and ironic. So a train derailed there. We had, and I want to say this right because it's important. Out of the 141 cars, there were 20 of them there were 20 cars carrying toxic hazardous chemicals. 14 of them were carrying vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride, it boils at 8 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that when this thing got blown up by the government, which the government sent in the military, and they blew it up. They set it on fire. They said, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be good. But this chemical boils. So you lit this gas on fire, which is highly poisonous, which bonds with water molecules very actively. And now it's smoke plumes in the air that look like they were something out of a scene from the Hiroshima bombing. So yes, so they're telling everybody everything is okay. It's not that bad. It's fine. But you don't even really see that getting any coverage on the news. Now you kind of do a little bit, but still not really, no. And this is one of the biggest ecological disasters that we've ever had. And while this is going on, we get 2 more balloons, right? Or unidentified objects, which they're calling them now, unidentified objects, right? So it sounds like aliens. Excuse me, I wish it was aliens, right? Like, we'd be too lucky if it was actual aliens. It's probably got something to do with something completely else, with either foreign power or us as a government in and of itself, which doesn't even explain the crazy stuff that has been being seen in the air over Missouri with the crazy laser looking lights, or in Alaska, or if you look at the North Pole with these auroras that are just beyond belief, so bright that the whole ground turns green. Like, this is stuff that's going on, that's happening right now, that's not being covered in the news. So it's very, very interesting. And the Ohio one is being called the Ohio Chernobyl. That's how serious this is. There are tons of dead fish, like literal tons of dead fish. Whole streams full of dead fish. Birds just dead, falling out of the sky. It's terrible. Now people that have farms outside of the evacuation area, I believe it was 10 miles, and then they expanded it even more than that, are saying that all of their livestock are starting to get sick and ill and dying. That's because this stuff is in the river now. It's in the groundwater. It's going into the aquifers, which is the underground water supply. It's gone into the atmosphere because these fools blew it up. You know, they make me feel like Charlton Heston in Planet of the Apes. They've done it. They've finally done it. You know, it's very, very outrageous. Like, this is outlandish to tell this story, and this is really happening in real time. Now, the river it affects 5 and I really wish that I could share this this image, but I don't have it to share. We're still working out the kinks with everything here as far as loading stuff and things like that. But anyway, so where the river is, and I'm going to see if we can do it like this, you can actually see that it impacts all types of different surrounding areas because of the flow of the river. So now you're talking not just Ohio and Pennsylvania, you're talking all of the surrounding areas as well. And that is a very, very serious issue. Hey, Joe, I see you there. Good to see you. It's a very, very serious issue. So with stuff like this going on, my biggest concern is that this river will take all of these chemicals all the way down from Ohio, all the way down through Louisiana. And that for me is a very large concern. Now, I don't know about you, but if you look at where this is, most of these things are, well, not most of these things, let me say it like this. The middle of the country, honestly, in the Ohio part, we have a lot of not only production facilities that bottle different drinks and stuff like that, but we have a large amount of livestock. We have a large amount of crops that are grown in that area. And those being exposed to all of these chemicals are very, very bad. And it's only going to get worse because now it's starting to go further into the environment. And as that continues, let me see if I can grab this map. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm going to try to share. No, it's too bright. Oh, wait, there we go. You can kind of see it. So you can kind of see it. So basically what you got is you got Ohio, Missouri, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of regular Virginia, parts of what do you call it? Illinois. Like, it's a lot. It's a large part of the country that this affects. And then that's not it. Because from there, the river goes down. The river goes down. And it's crazy because, like, those are just the immediate surrounding areas. And as it continues to work its way through the environment, things will continue to get worse and worse, right? But now you see that it'll go all the way down to literally all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, right? So people down there will be feeling the effects. So you've got also, you're going to see it through Mississippi, Arkansas, all the way down through Louisiana, and probably get through other parts of Missouri as well, and Illinois. So you've got a big swath. This is like 1/3 of the country, you guys. I don't know how to explain it to you, but it's like 1/3 of the country has been poisoned, which it doesn't even get that. That's not even the beginning, because we just had the other derailment in Houston of these poisonous chemicals, which thank the Lord it wasn't blown up, but that's a big problem down there right now. Okay, that is in what county is that? Montgomery County? Yeah, Montgomery County, and that was on yesterday. Then right, like yesterday wasn't crazy enough with that. Then also yesterday in South Carolina in Enrio, I'm not even able to pronounce that right. Enro, Enoree, whatever township area that is. They had another one, and it's absolutely crazy. And then just tonight, not too long before we're shooting this right now live, there was a bunch of different tractor trailers that got turned over in outside of Tucson. This is a problem. And this is poisoning the air. This is poisoning the earth. This is poisoning our environment. This is poisoning the free land in which you may be able to grow your own crops. You may be able to graze your own cattle, so that you become more dependent on the government by default, right? Not that you want to, but because you will inevitably have to, because you won't be able to grow anything because everything will be so toxic. This is a serious issue. And all of these things coming together all at one time, I mean, you don't have to be a conspiracy believer to see that it's awful ironic that all of these crazy chemical hazardous spills all happening at the same time seem a little peculiar. Now, whether you say, hey, it's the government is behind everything, maybe. I wouldn't put it past them. We know how our government operates. Maybe it's China. Could be. China has declared unrestricted warfare on us for some time now. Could it just be gross negligence? I mean, maybe. Could be. Because Pete Buttigieg is supposed to be the head of the Department of Transportation, had the nerve to get up on the TV talking about trains and rail and stuff like that, and didn't even bring the train derailment up. It's like the people in the cabinet that are supposed to be representing us as Americans just don't give a bloop, bloop, bloop. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's highly concerning to me as an individual who loves his country, who lives here, who has to eat food, right? Like, you got to eat, I got to eat, we all got to eat. Now, how the hell are we going to eat? You understand what I'm saying? Very, very, very concerning. But moving forward, because I don't want to beat this horse, and there's a ton of other stuff that we have to get covered, because it's just ironic also at the time that these balloons and stuff are flying overhead, we find out that the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline in Russia, okay, between Russia and Germany, which is interesting because that line actually was in direct competition with Ukraine's supply of oil to supply Europe with oil. So, and if you remember this good back before, which I know Americans have short memories, so if you remember this back before everything really started to kick off, as it started to get into the dating phases, Ukraine was like, well, Zelensky, not Ukraine, right? Because Zelensky isn't Ukraine, and that's another problem that a lot of people have. But Zelensky was like, oh, they can't have any oil supply there. If you let them have the oil supply there, we're going to do something, or whatever the case is. Anyway, he was going on about some spiel. He didn't want them to be delivering oil because it was competition from Burisma, which was the company Hunter Biden was one of the executives for. Come on now, somebody make sense of this. Like, again, you don't have to be a conspiracy theory to see that something odd is going on here. Like, this is like, I'm just reporting this. This is actually stuff that has happened, is happening. Like, I'm not making any of this up. I'm not really putting my spin on it. These are real, actual events in life. And it's weird, you guys. Come on now. So, come to find out, America blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Nothing. Nobody said anything. But we got balloons and aliens and stuff like that, right? Not aliens, UFOs. I know. You know what I'm saying. It's out of control. It's also another thing that happened is the Biden brothers have been subpoenaed. Hunter and what's the other one's name? Joe, not the other one whose wife Hunter had sex with and had a baby with. Yes, Hunter Biden had sex with his dying brother's wife, who was dying at the time. He got his wife pregnant. And then after the guy was dead, they had a baby. This is insane. It's insane. This is how just the reality of reality right now is just completely out the window, right? So they've issued subpoenas for the Biden family for financial documents dating all the way back to 2009 to see what foreign interests they might be involved in, because there's monies and transfers and stuff which seem to have no real purpose or origin into coming into their accounts, and that is a issue. This is probably the most important thing, and we've got everything in the agenda is important tonight, but this is probably the most consequential thing that I want to make sure that you guys listen to. Okay, this next part. Charlie Munger. Okay, I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's this rich, super rich dude, right? Very much so into stocks and into business investments and stuff like that. Okay, he's like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett type, that level. Okay, that's who he is. He said that the U.S. government should ban all cryptocurrency. He said that the federal government should ban all cryptocurrency. At the same time, the Federal Reserve has issued multiple warnings this week saying that if you have cryptocurrency, expect your cryptocurrency to go down to zero at some point. That just sounds a little. We'll continue. But they said that banks that are investing in it need to be very aware. In addition to that, we must also talk about the digital dollar, which the U.S. has just recently finished their testing of the U.S. digital dollar. Excuse me. Which is basically digital currency in your phone. You get the little barcode, you scan it, and the government can control all your money all the time. That's how it works. And it's going to be a very serious issue because we've seen governments and even our government, shut down people's accounts, prevent them from being able to transact. And just let's not even talk about if your stuff is dead or if there's a computer glitch or somebody hacks or something like that, right? Very concerning. So that is just insane. Like Charlie Munger wants to outlaw cryptocurrency. So you guys better wake up. We got some serious movements in the financial industries and more so closely to the currency industries that are going on and that are being told about openly. So please wake up. Now, let's see. We got a ton more stuff to talk about. So let's get cracking. Project Veritas. So if you're not familiar with Project Veritas is a independent journalism company that does investigative journalism, even though there's not much investigative journalism anywhere else in the world anymore, especially in the US. They don't do really investigative journalism. They don't really do investigative journalism anywhere outside of this and some small free independent journalists. So the head of it is known by many. His name is Jade. They put him on leave. Now, James O'Keefe is the face of Project Veritas. He's one of the people who started it up. And he's basically is Project Veritas, right? So they suspended him with pay because apparently people were complaining that he's mean to people and hurts their feelings by humiliating them on TV. I can't, right? Excuse me. He's out here bringing out very serious information. They did the reports on the on pedophilia in schools. They did the reports on they did the undercover reporting on all types of other stuff. Please look them up and look up James O'Keefe. But they've done all types of really good reporting. Most recently, they did reporting on Pfizer and how one of their people was saying that Pfizer was manipulating the COVID-19 strains so that they can become stronger and more prevalent, and that way then they can test other antiviral measures against those things. But that's gain of research function. That's gain of function research. They're not supposed to be doing that, right? And then Pfizer was silent. And then I can't remember exactly what happened because just so much crazy stuff happens, right? Something crazy happened at the same time. And mum was the word on that whole Pfizer thing. I think it was some racist thing. Oh, the cops, right? The cops that beat and killed the guy, right? Who apparently was having sex with one of their wives. It's just the news, the stuff, the reality of reality is wild, you guys. It's just insane nowadays. So he did that. He did the report on the gain of function with Pfizer. Pfizer came out 2 days later, right? Because they had and this slipped under the radar, right? Because everybody's talking about, oh, the cops bad, whatever the case is. But this slid under the radar. And what Pfizer's release is they said that no, we don't do gain of function research, but we do outsource to certain companies that may do that type of work. Are you serious? Like Pfizer just admitted this? Like this was their release Like, this was their press release that they wrote, them admitting gain of function research. And the whole country is mute, is mum. And then we come into the balloon situation. But then, but it's so crazy. The reality of reality right now is absolutely insane. And so they got rid of they suspended James O'Keefe from Project Veritas because he hurts people's feelings. That's not what really happened. And you don't have to be out there individual to understand that was definitely very clearly repulsed by one of the largest companies in the world that's making billions of dollars off of the pandemic. You understand? Like, they're some of the strongest people in the world, and they finally got him, right? Like, he's been poking the bear, and the bear finally bit his behind. So hopefully he comes out of it unscathed. But this will be very interesting. Also, in advance, James O'Keefe did not kill himself. I'm just saying. Anyway, so the CDC, in other news, the CDC also says that teen girls experiencing more violence now than ever and committing more violent acts now than ever. This is what the CDC is saying. I just, it's too much, right? Next set of news is very fun, right? So we all know that everybody's fleeing California. We all know that people in Seattle are suffering greatly under the problems in Seattle, and that Portland is a problem also. And all these people are fleeing from blue states and blue areas to red states and red areas and making them purple, which will definitely change the demographic and voting in the 2024 election. It just seems like this is completely ironic, just ironic, the purpling of the nation all at the same time. Very ironic. But to talk about that, 30% of the counties in Oregon have said that because of what's going on in Portland, they want to secede from Oregon. They voted to secede from Oregon and become part of Idaho. Yes, this is not a joke. 30% of the counties in Oregon voted to secede from Oregon and become part of Idaho, and the new state would be called Greater Idaho because of the terrible policies coming out of Portland, Oregon, with the crime, the drugs, and everything else. Not even that, which doesn't even talk about the legalization of sex work or mushrooms and all of the rest of the nonsense. And the also the very serious cartel activity that they have out there, both the Chinese and the Mexican cartels. It's a big problem because of the laws out there. But that's insane. And entwined with that, not the same, but a little bit similar, the governor of what is it? The governor of I misplaced my notes on that. I don't know where it went. Anyway, one of the other governors has decided to tell Californians, stop coming. I forget which state, and I thought I wrote it down, but I don't know where it is. But I will do my best to get you that information. Oh, you know what it was? Let's see. It was up there by Idaho, so it's got to be one of those states over there, because they're concerned about becoming more and more blue, and that was a problem. Let's see. Boop, doo, doo, boop, boop, boop. What's over there? Utah. Yeah, that was Utah. So that's funny. That's very, very funny. It's not funny, right? Because they don't want people that are Democrats coming into their states because they're ruining the states that they're from, and then they're leaving, and then they're voting for the same policies that made them leave the states that they're in. Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. This is crazy. Okay. Oh, yep. And now I found my note on that. It is the governor of Utah. How about that? Good job, Marcus. Now, we have a serious crisis on the border. Everybody knows about that. I don't need to bludgeon that to death. It's already been done to death, right? So, apparently, at the end of last year, almost 2,000 illegal Chinese immigrants crossed the southern border, which does not include a large number of increasing illegal Russians that are crossing the southern border. This is what's going on. This is exactly what's going on. It's crazy because it's roughly half the amount of the same 3 years. Let me say that a little bit different. Over the past 3 years, we've only got 4,000 roughly. And in that one quarter, that 3-month period, we got 2,000. That's out of control. And he says, what do you say? The administration doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. But now let's go to some more international news. We talked briefly about Europe. Let's get back over to Europe because it's just everything is out of control in the world right now. You got Turkey and Syria had a giant earthquake and they're still recovering. It's 41,000 dead now. 41,000. And that's an estimate because we don't have accurate numbers from Syria. So over 41,000 people were killed in the earthquake. And that's just, it's crazy. It's absolutely sad. And I don't even know what to say about it. But what's concerning is what Turkey's got going on with themselves. So between the canal that they're building to help make troops be able to get into the Black Sea, and between their fight with Greece, which they're about to go to war with Greece, apparently, which if you guys don't know, Turkey and Greece have gone to war back and forth a couple different times. Most recently over the island of Cyprus, which used to be British owned, but the British pulled out of there and Greece said this part's ours. And Turkey said, no, the F you don't. And they took part of the island. And they're still the only country that's actually got a divided capital. This is a whole bunch of crazy nonsense. A whole bunch of crazy nonsense. So they're still beefing. The beef has gotten bigger. So they might actually be two NATO countries that end up going to war with each other, which would be interesting because I'd love to see how NATO would react if that actually happened. But nobody wants war if we don't need it. But they're driving us into World War III anyway. And here comes Moldova. Okay. Need to sit they raggedy behind down. No offense to the Moldovan people, but the Moldovan administration is trying to put the world into World War III. And that, to me, is a goddamn problem. Excuse my language. Okay, I don't want to be in World War III because of Moldova. Moldova says, oh, the Russians had planned to help people possibly fake protest and create insurgencies against Moldova. Now, if you guys don't know about the history between Moldova and Russia, it's extensive and it goes back pre the fall of the USSR and the Soviet Union. If you're not familiar with either one of the names, it's the same country. It's both still Russia because it used to be part of that. Now there's a part, it's Transnistria was part of Moldova, but they said because they're largely ethnic Russian population that they want to be their own country. So Russia has troops there stationed in Transnistria, which Moldova says is part of their country, which it's not, because if Moldova can be its own country, Transnistria can be its own country. Because they both came about from the fall of the Soviet Union and the Iron Curtain. You understand what I'm saying? Because denying Transnistria their freedom would basically be saying that Moldova doesn't have a right to be free either. So the argument is very flawed that Moldova is trying to make. We've seen other wars in the region like that, like the issue with the Chechens and the issues with Kosovo and stuff like that. So it's not uncommon to see those type of wars break out over there. North Macedonia, right? Like, so there's a lot of stuff going on over there. And I'm not with it. I don't want to be part of World War III because the Moldovan president wants to say some craziness that who knows who told her that. You understand what I'm saying? Right, wrong, or indifferent. No. So, in positive news, our great partner India, which we're not actually close enough to, which is a whole nother conversation, but our great partner India found a whole crap ton of lithium, which will help them be able to better produce their own batteries in India and take their dependency away from China. Very good, but they'll have to actually build up more refineries and stuff for that. But that's definitely something worth noting in the future, as long as World War III doesn't destroy everything, right? We also have Iran, China, and Russia coming together to form a collaborative unit behind the scenes, which they're not actually naming anything, but they're working together. So that's something very interesting also. And another interesting thing, since we're on the topic of Iran, is Poland, right? Like Poland was celebrating the Iranian Revolution. So was Hungary, right? But not, don't leave Hungary out. But Hungary's already been the redheaded stepchild and the black sheep of the European Union. So Poland kind of celebrating with Iran for the Iranian Revolution was unexpected to, I think, pretty much everybody. So that's interesting. And one of these other topics of interesting things that just seems to be happening was a U-Haul in New York City hit 8 people, seriously injured 4, critically injured 2, seriously injured 2, critically injured 2, and 4 got minor injuries. Now, they're not saying that it was an attack or anything, but to me, it looked like what happened was, and they don't have all the videos and stuff up, is that something was going on with the truck. I don't know if it was stolen or there was something in it or whatever the case is. And the police started chasing them, and then they started running people over on the street, trying to run away from the police. Now, how it started or how it ended up or whatever the situation is, they haven't really released the full details yet. But maybe we'll get some more information on that later. So here's the deal, you guys. We have an egg crisis. We have a meat crisis. We have a plant crisis. We have a oil crisis. And we have in New York State, Kathy Hochul trying to get rid of all the gas stove. Everything, everywhere, across the world seems to be going absolutely mad. And I didn't even talk about Australia, New Zealand, because it's just too much. It's too much. There's too much going on. But Bolsonaro goes back to Brazil soon, and I hope that he can do something against Lula da Silva, and who's a communist who was previously arrested for corruption, who's now trying to extort the poor. Like this is the world that we live in, and these people are starting to take over. And I just pray that you guys stay strong and you keep up the fight, because this is gonna be wow. That's all I got to say. This is gonna be wow coming up in the next couple of months. Really, seriously, wow. Stock up on food, stock up on water, do whatever you can, depending on where you're listening to this from, because stuff is about to get really, really hectic. And I'm sure we haven't even seen the beginning of it yet. But with that being said, I want to thank you all for listening tonight. And I hope that you can find the courage deep down within to stay strong and carry on. So make sure that you stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. But make sure you also take action.